Next up, we have Jordan Christensen from Wattpad. So again, thanking our host for having us in the space. Jordan is the head of engineering at Wattpad.
Thank you. All right, good morning. Good morning. There we go. All right, let's get some energy going this morning. I know it's early, it's Sunday. It takes a little bit to get the juices flowing. I know you guys had a great day yesterday hacking here at Wattpad. I just want to introduce myself very quickly. I'm Jordan Christensen. I'm the head of engineering here at Wattpad. I have the honor of being one of the judges later today, which is I'm super excited about. I'm also the head of and responsible for all of our data that we have here. So helped the team help select the data that we provided for the hackathon here. I want to start by just saying thank you. You know, often, and you get a presentation like this, everybody says thank you at the end. I want to say thank you up front because it's really amazing that all the organizers, the volunteers, the mentors, the judges, and most of all the attendees that have been able to attend. It's amazing to see the turnout. It's amazing, and I can't wait to see what you've built and see how you've used the great data assets and great tools that you've learned and techniques that you've learned when we go through the judging this afternoon. So I want to start by saying thank you there. But before we get into the judging this afternoon and get into all that, I'd like to tell you a bit about us, about Wattpad. You've had this chance to see our space, but it doesn't really give you an idea of what we're up to. Here at Wattpad, we're really all about stories. We're about providing a great platform for people to read those stories, people to write those stories, and for sharing and communicating and talking around those stories. So let me tell you our story, tell you a bit about Wattpad and where we came from. Actually, Wattpad's surprisingly old in the startup space. We're about 10 years old, our 10th-year anniversary. We're having a party later this year to celebrate that, and we're coming up on that. About 10 years ago, our two co-founders, Alan and Ivan, had a very simple problem. They just wanted to read stories on their phones. Now, if you think back, what does your phone look like 10 years ago? It looks something like this. So they actually built an app that did just that, and it ran on these kinds of phones. It allowed them to read on the devices of the day. Here's a picture of what it looked like. And we actually still have, if you go around the corner there, some of the original devices in the display cases. You can see what they were originally built on. And if you remember that or recognize it, it was a little early and probably a little ahead of the game. And I was sort of thinking about the time frame of it. It was actually a year before this happened, before Steve Jobs announced the first iPhone and made it available in the US, and almost 2 years before you could actually ship an app that would run on the iPhone. So that's really early. And in those days, the focus was really on reading public domain content and reading content that was already out there. And that was something that like the company would put up and people could read them, and it was really a one-way kind of experience. Obviously the phones weren't really there, so we started building our website, maybe to get a chance to those phones to catch up. But the game really started changing for us when we started letting people upload content. And the founding team realized that Wattpad was going to not just be a place for reading, but going to be a really full social network where readers and writers could connect over stories. People could write stories, people could read them, and talk and share and connect with each other. And that's really been our mission and our path ever since. Be on mobile first, be on phones early, provide a mobile native experience. Still today, over 90% of our usage is on mobile. And make that experience very social so that readers and writers can connect and share their passion and love for reading and be entertained while they're doing it. So over the time, we've grown massively. We've gone from a couple of hundred people using that old J2ME app 10 years ago to millions of people visiting Wattpad every month. From 2 people working on their couches to 135 people who work here in this great office every day. It's actually a shot of this space when we first filled it out. Many of whom you've had a chance to meet today and yesterday as they've been volunteering here and mentoring people that have attended the hackathon here. And in fact, it's more than just millions. There are 45 million people that use Wattpad every month, and that continues to grow. We're adding over 100,000 new signups every day. And the sheer volume of content that we have here is staggering. Over 250 million stories have been written since we started, and we're adding thousands and thousands every day to the platform. And we have a really unique audience, with most of our users being under 30. We have a very specific demographic where Wattpad really appeals well to them, but one that often isn't available in other platforms. We're also highly international with our service translated in over 50 languages. And again, mirroring the adoption of smartphones, we're everywhere the readers that are using those smartphones are. And the stories that are written on Wattpad are created in a very specific and a very unique way, where often they're serialized one chapter at a time, which creates this very natural social experience where people write one chapter, they sort of wait for feedback, they get a certain amount of audience, that audience gives them feedback, and then they publish the next chapter, they get all those people plus the people that come along with them, because there's a very natural social element where people are sharing those stories with their friends. And often readers are not only just speculating about what's happening, but they're giving feedback and influencing the direction of those stories. So you get a very community-driven story creation process as well. And every once in a while, we have a super success, a writer whose story is of such a level of quality and interest and intrigue and success that it escapes the orbit of Wattpad and moves off our platform. Our most popular writer, Andrew Todd, has now published has 8 different novels, translated into many languages, and she's broken into the New York Times bestseller list and signed a deal with Paramount to turn her books into movies. So this is the story for Wattpad is not just a how do people connect and collaborate around on the platform. It's how does Wattpad help those writers move off that platform and move into the physical world as well, into the traditional media world. And that's really where we see Wattpad going, helping writers find their voice, building that audience, and becoming mass successes both on and off the Wattpad platform. We talk a lot about our vision being one where we help entertain billions of people both on and off the platform, finding those connections around finding ways to be entertained, inspired, and connected around those stories. That's right, bad slide. But that growth and that connecting to those billions of people is really where our data comes in. And we know so through our history, through our time that we spent watching writers grow up from writing that very first chapter to writing the end of their 200, 500 page novel, we know what makes a successful story. And we continue to use that data to find earlier and earlier breakthrough titles so that we can then help them move to that next stage. Our current record is for this story, Chasing Red, which we just sold to, or helped that writer sell to a publisher. And we found that story 14 months before that story actually was completed. So we were able to, writing takes time, there's a big journey, they're building that audience, but we were able to find that earlier because we were able to watch and see the interactions and see the growth and see the quality of that story. So what we really do, one of the things we do in our data science team is we constantly are looking for ways to find those breakthroughs earlier and earlier so that we can then work with those writers to make them into a huge success. Because the sooner that we can find that great writer, the sooner we can work with them to break through, the sooner they can become that next Anna Todd or potentially even bigger. We also do a lot of work on the discovery side of things because we also see how people are connecting to their stories, how they're finding them through our recommendations, through our search, through a lot of different elements on our platform. We can help readers not only find an interesting story, but we can help them find a story they can't put down. Think about a book that you picked up and then hours and hours and hours have passed and you didn't even notice, and you looked at the clock and you realized that you'd finished the whole book and the whole day is gone. That's really the engine that we're building on Wattpad, is that content discovery algorithm that allows us to find the book that you're going to find the most interesting. So I'm not going to take up a lot more of your time today and let you guys get back to the hackathon and on to the next talks. But if you want to learn more about how we do these things here at Wattpad, or any opportunities we might have here at Wattpad, you can find me. That's me. That's my Twitter. That's my email. Thanks again for coming to HackOn Data. I hope you're enjoying your time here and enjoying the space here at Wattpad. And I can't wait to see what you've built. Thank you.